September 14, 2014, from MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. It was the Arizona Cardinals at the New York Giants. And the Arizona Cardinals had the ball first as they would drive down the field in 11 plays. They went 80 yards in less than 5 minutes, and their drive was capped off by a 1-yard touchdown run by Jonathan Dwyer that gave the Cardinals the lead 7-0. So New York would take over, and they started marching down the field. They crossed the halfway point, and they got into Arizona territory as Eli dropped back to pass on 3rd and 8 from the 30, and he threw an interception as a chew. Intercepted the ball and gave the Cardinals the ball on their own 29. The Cardinals then marched into field goal range, and Catanzaro scored on a 49-yard field goal to put the Cardinals up 10-0, as they now scored 10 unanswered points in the first quarter. So now the Giants took over as they would bring the first quarter to a close, and to begin the second quarter with the ball as they were coming towards midfield. They crossed over into Arizona territory, but then on 3rd and 7, Eli Manning was sacked for a 9-yard loss by Johnson, and the Giants would be forced to punt. So the Cardinals took over, but they also would be forced to punt, so they ended up giving the ball back to the Giants with about 8 minutes left before halftime, and the Giants marched 90 yards down the field, all the way from their own 10-yard line, in 13 plays in about 7 minutes, capped off by a 7-yard touchdown pass by Eli Manning to Randle to put the Giants on the board and cut the Cardinals' lead to 3 at 10-7. So now the Cardinals had the ball with about 30 seconds left before halftime, but nothing would happen. In the final play of the half was a kneel by Drew Stanton, who, by the way, got the start because Carson Palmer couldn't go, in case you didn't know, but I'm sure you already knew that. So to begin the second half, the Giants had the ball, but they went 3 and out and were forced to punt by that tough Cardinals defense. The Cardinals then would go 3 and out as well, as they punted the ball just right back to the New York Giants. But the Giants would punt it right back to them, but then the Cardinals went 3 and out for the second consecutive drive of the second half, and they punted the ball back to the Giants. So now the Giants took over with about 7 minutes left in the third quarter, and they drove 8 plays in about 4.5 minutes as they went 74 yards all the way from their own 26 down the field to the 1-yard line, and that's where Eli Manning threw a touchdown pass to Fells as they scored on the 1-yard touchdown to take the lead 14-10. So now the Cardinals were trailing by 4 points with about 2 minutes left in the third quarter. They would bring the third quarter to a close as they started their drive on the 7 and made it all the way up to the 33 to begin the fourth quarter. And then they crossed midfield and made it all the way to the red zone as they were on the Giants' 19-yard line for a 1st and 10, but an incomplete pass on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down. 3 straight incomplete passes. Actually, it was 4 straight incomplete passes, but a penalty gave them the 1st down over in a 5-yard play on a defensive holding. But 3 incomplete passes once they got that new 1st down, and they would end up having to settle for a field goal as Catanzaro scored another field goal, this time a 37-yarder, to bring the Cardinals within 1 point as they now trailed the Giants 14-13. So now the Giants took over with about 11.5 minutes left to play, but they would go 3 and out as they were forced to punt. Put on the punt, Ted Ginn Jr. returned it 71 yards for the touchdown as he put the Cardinals up 19-14. The 2-point conversion failed, so they only got 6 points, but they were now up by 5. So now the Giants would get the ball back, but they didn't because they fumbled on the kick as they could not return it, and they give it right back to the Cardinals. So now the Cardinals had the ball right back, and they wouldn't waste much time as they were already in field goal range. They got the ball on the Giants' 21. They actually lost yards, but it was okay because Catanzaro was in position to score a 32-yard field goal to further extend the Arizona Cardinals' lead as they were now up 22-14 with about 9 minutes left to play. So now the Giants had the ball, and they needed a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to force overtime. So they started marching down the field, made it all the way to the red zone. It was 1st and 10 on the Arizona 17. Incomplete pass led to 2nd and 10. Eli dropped back, and it was a fumble. Arizona recovered and took over on their own 14 with about 4.5 minutes left. They killed a little bit of time, not much more than a minute, and they were forced to punt once again. So now Eli would get the ball with a little over 3 minutes left to play, needing to score and needing a 2-point conversion to force overtime. But the Giants were shut down on 1st down. They got maybe 4 yards. An incompletion on 2nd down led to 3rd and 6. An incompletion on 3rd down led to 4th and 6. And another incompletion turned the ball over on downs as now the Cardinals took back over with 2.5 minutes left on the Giants 19. And Catanzaro kicked another field goal, this time a 33-yarder, to make it 25-14 to put this game out of reach, as it was now all but over, except Eli would throw an interception as Larry Foote picked off the ball just 4 plays later, and that really brought it to an end, as all that was left to do was for Drew Stanton to take a knee as the Arizona Cardinals go into New York and beat the Giants 25-14. And in this game, Drew Stanton in replacement for Carson Palmer, as Drew Stanton got the start, being that Palmer couldn't go. Stanton was 14 for 29 with 167 yards. Eli Manning was 26 for 39 with 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. The leading rusher was Ellington with 15 carries for 91 yards. And the leading receiver was Donnell with 81 yards off of 7 receptions. So the Cardinals pull off an exciting game in New York as they win this one 25-14.